utilize that, and let's dive right into it. I see we have Lily that just joined us. Lily, we're going to alter our class a little today.
Okay.
Since it's just the two of you ladies plus Jordan. This particular class I held back in January. I don't know if you were able to attend. It is a two-part class, but it was recorded and it's on our YouTube channel. So what we're going to utilize today, since it's such a small course, is to kind of focus on you guys and what you're looking for. Like Regina just brought up a good point, wanting to learn and know more about the market, and I know exactly how to show you guys that. So we're going to do that today. And then
Great.
you guys, if you're interested in the productivity clinic, then it is pre-recorded on YouTube, and y'all can review that later. But basically what that course is to help take your yearly goals and break it down to daily tasks. And that is a very short, sweet answer, and it's actually a lot more in depth than that. But since we are such a small, concentrated class, I really want to just cater it to you guys, because in order to make money, you got to know how. So why don't I go ahead and just dive right into what you just said, Regina? I'm going to share my screen with y'all, and I'm going to show y'all how y'all can utilize MLS to pull up market stats for you. Let me just
get a suggestion too, Regina. I know you said that you'd like to shadow one of us on listing appointments or showings, different things like that. And it is harder these days just with COVID regulations. Like the more people that show up, the harder it is, and the more uncomfortable people feel. But what I would suggest is maybe getting a buddy, even if you and Lily wanted to buddy up, since your guys are the ones who are in here, is find a vacant home on the MLS that's been on the market for a little bit, maybe a bank-owned home or something like that, and call the agent, set up a showing, and then go out and show it to each other. And then the other one, sets up another house.
Like role play? That's not a bad idea.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Just make sure it's vacant, because of it being COVID. You don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, especially when you don't technically have a buyer. You don't necessarily have to tell the listing agent that you don't have a buyer. Just let them know that you're previewing the home. That way it sounds better, right? So, but that's a great idea. That way y'all really can role play and just take turns walking through it. And then you could go through the different ways on how y'all want to present. So each buyer is going to be different, and you're going to need to be able to read those personalities and kind of play off of it. Some buyers like to tour the home and just have you in the background there to answer any questions that they have. Some buyers need your guidance through the home, and you'll need to be able to walk them through everything and be able to describe it. And the more you get used to seeing these houses, the easier it's going to be, and you're not going to have to worry about not knowing what the property is. But you can print out something from the MLS to take with you. You can pull it up on HomeSnap while you're there to answer any questions that they might have, to just kind of familiarize yourself with the property. But once you guys really start get going, there's going to be so many properties, you're not going to be able to research every single one before you show it. So it's very good for you to be able to Jordan just texted me and asked me if I'm crying. Do I look that terrible? I just don't have any makeup on.
No. I just saw you wiping your eyes. That's what it
was. So y'all know I love my cat, right? Like, the cat's the one thing I talk about the most, my Romeo. I'm pretty sure I'm allergic to him. So his fur is in my eye right now, so it's okay.
She's wiping her eyes. Is she okay?
There's no crying in baseball. But by y'all, just to get back on it, by y'all practicing with each other, y'all are going to feel a lot more comfortable in front of your buyers, and you'll be able to see how each other does it.
I'm learning the MLS sheet too.
Yes. And I try to make myself available as much as possible to allow you guys to shadow me. But unfortunately, with the way that the market has been lately, I haven't been able to do that. I have excuse me, a couple of buyers that I work with, but they also have small children, and they're just very protective over other people being around. So I've had to be sensitive to that. And
I get that.
Yeah. So I don't want y'all to feel discouraged or anything. It just, unfortunately, that's the kind of market that we're in. So it's easy to buddy up with one other person and kind of role play off of each other right now until everybody gets a little bit more comfortable with what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. That's fine with me. I've been feeling, Regina, I heard everything you said. I feel the same way. I
feel like
lost.
us New Yorkers gotta stick together.
I mean, it's not even about that. It's not
I'm
about
just teasing you.
You know, but just navigating. I've practiced a lot with the MLS with Rein. I've been practicing a lot. I know Jordan helped me the other day. My searches weren't coming up properly, and so, it's so finicky and it's so funny. But I pretty much was able to maneuver through that and get it right. But yeah, I guess it's feeling like I've been wanting to shadow someone. I want to, because I don't want to imitate anyone, but I just want to see what it feels like, what it looks like.
Honestly, it is going to be imitation initially, because we use this phrase quite a bit in real estate, and it's called fake it till you make it. So there's definitely nothing wrong with taking pieces that you see from somebody else and you're like, you know what, that's really good, let me do that too. Because the likelihood of us like crossing the same person is very, very rare. Like, I tell people this all the time. You can absolutely look at my business page and practically copy it verbatim. I mean, you're not going to want to, because you're going to want to personalize it, right? But to give you like a rough thing to go off of, because the likelihood of us having the same friends, aside from our real estate agents that we're friends with, is so few and far apart that I personally don't see the harm in that. Like, some other agents may be a little bit more protective of that, but me personally, I'm here for everybody to make money. There's plenty of money out there. It's just all in the same 1% pockets. So let's get us a piece of it.
Yeah,
that's right.
So let's look at this. Just so you guys know, on this particular Rein, there are different webinars and tutorials, right? So if you ever are wondering how to do things, it literally breaks it down for you. And I don't want you guys to feel like, I don't want y'all to neglect this page, because I've actually figured out quite a bit of stuff myself by just checking out different things. So what I'm going to show you, as far as like making yourself aware of what the market looks like, is some pages that I've already set up. So you'll see the different tutorials right in here. And this is basically what I use. I don't remember exactly which one I used. It's up here somewhere, but I don't, this is where I went to learn how to do it. So when you're looking at your market watch, you can literally log on every day. So if you want a morning routine, Regina, we were just talking about routines, right? Before you get started on making your calls. So let's say that you make your calls from 9 to 12. I know you're actually a lunchtime caller, girl, and that I think that's actually phenomenal, because you were able to get a lot of people on the phone. But let's say, just for this class purposes, that you're a 9 to 12 caller, right? Oh, that sounds terrible. 9 to 12 call girl. That's not how that
That's all right.
That did not come out the way it was supposed to. Anyways,
fair housing. No.
So what you want to do before you make your calls is prepare your numbers the day before. I don't know if y'all have ever prepared numbers before, but it can actually be quite a bit. And once you get fully acclimated with command and you have all of your people in command, you'll be able to better track, so you're not spending so much time preparing your numbers, because when you're working through command, through the CRM, you'll be able to keep notes and you'll be able to set them up on your call list for the whenever. That way you just go in and call into command, and it's just bringing it up for the day versus actually preparing it, right? Because it's going to be something that you're constantly manipulating and adjusting as you go on throughout the day. But until you get to that point, you want to prepare your numbers the day before. Like if you're pulling from FSBOs and expires and stuff like that, you want to have all your numbers like set out in front of you. If you think that you need to talk to 30 people a day, you literally need to call 3 times that amount of people to get to that number. So that's 300 numbers that you need to have prepared in hopes of talking to 30 people, in hopes. Now, all of those don't necessarily have to be FSBOs and expireds, because some of those 30 people could be personal touches. So let's say that you can talk to 15 people from your personal sphere of influence. And these are people that you network with, other business owners. These are people that have been past clients. These are people that you've potentially talked to them about real estate before. However, whoever they are, let's say you got 15. So then it's only 15 other people that you're trying to get to, right? So that kind of breaks it down a bit more for you. So you don't have to feel so overwhelmed with how many calls you're going to have to make. If you're only calling strangers, it's a lot of numbers that you're going to be dialing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yes.
sorry, my nose is running because, again, allergic to my cat. So when you're looking at this form here, before you go make your calls, the morning of, get your coffee, get your head right, read a little bit. I read a lot. I don't know if you guys like reading or not. One of my favorite books that Gary Keller has put out is The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which is what the business clinic was actually based off of when they formed it. And then the current book I'm reading is called Atomic Habits. And basically that book is about getting rid of bad habits and generating good ones. And there's loads of books out there like it, but I really love this book because it breaks it down very simply and makes it very feasible to do, right? So I like reading right before I go to bed and when I first wake up in the morning, because it puts me in the right mindset. It allows me to sleep peacefully and it puts me in the right mindset so that I can wake up and strategize my day. Don't get wrapped up in reading though, right? Because I can sit there and read one book all day long and like the whole day is gone. It's like Netflix and chilling, right?
Yeah, I try to do it on the elliptical with Audible.
Yeah, I would love to say that I'm going to the gym at the same time, but that's not true. Y'all see me in
I don't
person?
go to the gym. I have an elliptical in my living room.
My goal is to start getting back in the gym. Like I actually just ordered myself a gym bag if we want to get real technical. So my goal is to prepare a gym bag every day so that I can go in the afternoons, because it's just easier for me to go in the afternoons because my mind is too focused on work in the morning. So have your coffee, do your reading, get your mind right, whatever it is that helps you get motivated. It could be music, it could be reading, it could just be checking emails, whatever it is that really gets you going. And you have to kind of pay attention to what it is that gets you going, because some of these tasks, these little things, they become daunting and you're like, ugh, I got to check my email. Like, I don't want you to be in that mindset first thing in the morning. So the first thing that you should do should be something that helps you get your day going. Like, yes, I'm going to crush this day. I got X, Y, and Z I got to get done. And then we're going to go do, right? Okay. So do that first.
I like your sound
effect. It's how I talk. Everything gets a sound effect. So, if you're one of those people that takes a long time to get ready in the morning, then make sure you allot that kind of time, right? So let's say that you're starting your calls at 9 and you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So 6 o'clock, you get up, you have your coffee, you read, you listen to your music, you do your elliptical, whatever it is. And then by 7, you're getting ready, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to be sitting in front of your computer by 8:15, 8:30 at the latest, so that you can review the market for the day. Don't check your emails, right? Because that's busybody work and it's going to distract you from your point. If you have to check your emails before you get started, then you need to make sure that you do that earlier, right? Because you don't want to sit there and get wrapped up in what's going on with your emails, and now all of a sudden you're not checking your market, and then you're not prepared to make your calls because you didn't check your market, and then you're not making your calls. And the whole point is to make these calls, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where time blocking comes into play. There's nothing in that email that is so 911 that it can't wait a few hours. I promise. I've heard nightmares of stories and stuff like that, and I'm one of those people, if I see it ding in my phone, I can't help but look at it. I can't. It's like one of those things like, oh my God, what if the sky is falling? Sky is never falling. It is never falling. So I don't want y'all to get so wrapped up in that anxiety about missing something important. I want you to focus on your task at hand, because honestly, Those emails can wait. I promise you. If it was at 911, they would have called you. They would have texted you. They would have said 911, call me back. And then you could have done what you needed to do. So after you get yourself settled, you can look at this. This is going to be automatically on here as far as your market watch goes, right? And this is all of the Hampton Roads area. So this is really, really sad numbers. I don't know how familiar you guys are with this, but when I first got into real estate, I was used to this number being like hundreds. Like Jordan could probably attest to this. Like these numbers are very, very sad. Like I'm not used to seeing
it was at least 50 minimum.
At least 50. Like it depends on the day of the week. Yes. So this is very, very sad, but I don't want that to discourage you. I just want you guys to understand. So when you click on the new listings, as you see, 2 of them are already under contract. Let me just double check. Okay. I hate it when they put the POA condo right here under contingency. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's under contract. That contingency is when it is under contract, and that's where it's at in its contract. And so many people misuse that, and it drives me bananas. But aside from that, so you can look at whatever new listings are on the market. But let's say that you actually want to set up some templates to where you can check out stats for a particular area. So I've actually already gone through and created these. And like I said, on that first page under the dashboard where it had the tutorials, will actually show how you can create and set these up. And I have ones that are new listings, and then I have closings. So let's just click on, let's just see what Virginia Beach is doing. So Virginia Beach new listings. Now, as you see, I have this set up for a year. And the reason why I set it up for a year is because I like to see the progress. Now, March just started, so this really isn't a fair representation of March since we're so brand new into it. But as you see, the number of new listings has drastically decreased since October. And it's starting to pick up a little bit, and we should continue to see an increase because we're starting to roll into the spring market and the summer market. So usually we see an increase in listings because like the school year is wrapping up, military orders are coming in, people are moving at that time. And the way that it has it, you have different ways that you can set this up, and then you can customize it. Mine are customized. So I'm not going to go too much into that. For one, I need to familiarize myself with it. So it'd be a lot of guesswork right now since I set these up such a long time ago. But at the same time, it's not hard at all. I just use those tutorials that Rein provides to set it up very quickly. So this is the listings, and then I always kind of look at the closings. In these particular reports, you're probably going to want to look at like once a month so that you're familiarizing yourself with it. Hold on. And so the closings are still looking pretty steady. So if we go back over here to the listings, use the current search criteria. In February, we had, let's say about 681. Look at that. It's so smart. Tells you exactly how many number of listings that they had in February. And then let's see how many number of closings we had in February. 546. So you can, this is just a way to let your clients know, like in the Hampton Roads area, because this covered, well, in Virginia Beach alone, we had 600 and just shy of 700 listings and about 550 closings in February. So the market is still moving. This is something that you can use to let people know the market is still moving. You always want to have more properties on the market than what you actually have closing, because then there'll be a lot of new construction deals going on if we don't. So if you are making calls in a focused area like Hampton, Newport News, anything along those lines, you can basically set these templates up so that you can see what they're doing. So in Hampton for February, 681. Why does that match Virginia Beach? It still says Virginia Beach down there. Hold on. Hold, please. All right. Now this number makes more sense. February, Hampton had 203 new listings. And then closings, they had 163. So we're seeing about 100 difference in between what's actually going on the market and what's actually closing. So it's looking good, but it's still looking scarce because you got to take into consideration that those houses that aren't closing, like why? And maybe they were listed at the end of the month, who knows? But this is one of the ways that I keep myself informed with the particular market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of this is available on Rein. Jordan, do you by chance have anything that you use to keep yourself informed?
So I take a look at the market watch every single day. And then what I will do is from time to time, I'll go on and I'll just run my own search using the market watch, because you can, when you click on the customize feature under market watch, you can customize it to a specific area. You can customize it to like Northern Norfolk. You can do attached, detached. You can do under 500, above 500. Homes with garages, stuff like that, to see what's selling, what's not. And what I will do from time to time is look under there and look at a particular area and see, okay, how many have, like in Norfolk, I'll do all of Norfolk and be like, okay, how many have sold in the last 30 days? Because, or you can do, you know, within the last week or whatever, when you customize the time frame. And then I'll look at how many are active on the market, active and pending. Okay, now what does that look like for just active homes, and kind of do percentages that way based on, okay, this many homes sold last month. And we only have this many homes on the market this month. How much inventory does that really leave us with? How many weeks, months? We're at weeks now, really. Last I calculated in Norfolk, it was 6 weeks worth of inventory.
Now tell them, because I just recently learned, and since Jordan is more experienced in this area than I am, tell them how you determine how much inventory is left. Like if we had like 150 houses, what does that translate to on how many?
So you need to see how many homes closed last month and then do math. You got to math.
I knew some math was in there somewhere.
Yeah. You gotta. I forget which number off the top of my head, but you take one number and divide it by the other, and then that gives you how many months worth of inventory.
Yeah, so that you guys can basically see the desperation that we have agents have right now, but it's going to balance out, guys. Like I know it seems like doom and gloom with the market right now, but in reality, we always bounce back. It will level out, and I know it's going to level out really soon because it just can't continue on like this. We as a country are recovering. We're on the mend. Is it mending as quickly as we wanted it to? Absolutely not. But we are on the mend. So I don't want anybody to be discouraged. It will bounce back.
This is what markets do. It really is what markets do. There's highs, there's lows, and you know, we're nowhere near what we were in 2008 because 2008 was an artificial inflation. If you look at the numbers, I just was reading an article this morning. If you look, so the sign of a steady market is 6 months worth of inventory. That's it. And right now we're at 6 weeks. So there really is a supply demand issue. And the basic rule of sales in supply demand is if there's a higher demand, then there's a higher price. If there's a lower demand, there's a lower price. So anything above 6 months of inventory indicates a buyer's market, and anything below 6 months of inventory indicates a seller's market. So in the 2007-2008 timeframe, there was actually closer to 8 or 9 months worth of inventory on the market. So it was artificial inflation. It was still a buyer's market, but because of the way that things were rolling and there was a competition and anybody could get a loan, that's what drove everybody to buy homes. Right now, there's true inflation because of the supply demand issue. Now, will it balance out, and will we, will some stuff start to check out? Yep, interest rates are rising up. So, that'll negate a lot of people's buying power, and they might decide to rent instead. But that is just kind of the flow of the market. Sorry, my little spiel.
I like it.
Sure.
So there's some other things that you can do with market reports, and you could do it in a particular area. And it basically just brings it up like this. So let's just play around with this a little bit so y'all can kind of see it. I'm not going to put any stipulations on it. I'm just going to put it like this, but we do need to know how many are active, how many are pending sold. I actually usually just check all of these off just because I like it. But when you pull up the report, it's going to give you a vague summary. It's not going to sit there and go into details or anything like that, but it's just like data points so that you can better understand a particular area. And like I said, you can make that very specific if you want to. So if you wanted to like compare condos versus detached houses, or you wanted to compare rentals versus buying, because I know a lot of sellers are deciding to rent because the market is so good, and they'll buy again once the market shifts to a buyer's market. But the rental market is actually just as competitive as the buyer's market. So now this particular one, which you want to pay attention to, is the date and how much information they're actually giving to you. Because I didn't put any date restrictions. I can't remember if this particular one is just from January to the current date or if it's for the past year. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to generate a new one, and I'm going to mess with that calendar a little bit so that you guys can compare and see the difference as soon as my little bar gets out of the way. So let's click on the calendar. So let's just say, let's do it from the current month.
Holly?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, but I don't know how you got to your status.
To where I'm at right now?
Yeah.
Market reports. So if you click on market reports right here at the tab, and then you go on area market survey, and I don't forgot what city I clicked on. Let's
Chesapeake.
Make sure. There we go. Let's make sure we're doing the same one. So Chesapeake, and then I click on the status right here, and I click on everything. So you can do whatever you want, but if you kind of want an overall summary on what the particular area is doing. So I just generated the report without messing with the date change, and I don't know what the time frame is there because I can't remember. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to adjust the dates, and I'm going to do it from January through to March. Hit OK. Generate report, and we're going to compare the two side by side. So we see how it's different, right? This one's got a lot more information. So this may have been like a year or 6 months. And this one is just for 3 months. Mm-hmm. So as we're looking at that, we're looking in the Chesapeake area specifically, and we're looking at everything: active, expired, pending, sold, fall through, withdrawn. And it's gives you these price breakdowns. So this is a good way if you guys are ever trying to decide what market you want to like invest in to try to farm. This is one thing that I do, because you can look it up by zip code, you can look it up by neighborhood. Basically, if you're trying to decide where am I going to focus my business so that I can try to generate the most, this is one way to do it. So you look at the area and you see, one, how many houses are going on in a particular price range. So let's say if you're going to like generate business, you want to try to make sure it's going to be worth your time, right? Because if you focus on those ones that have a lot of lower ended listings, like it may pay off because there may be more going on the market. But if you want to focus on the higher end listings, you need to make sure that those numbers are going to make sense. Because if you're trying to get into the $1 million housing market, you need to see, for one, how many are actually in that area and how long they stay on the market before they actually sell. right?
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that you're doing your research before you start investing any time, money, or effort into anything. So this is something to do in your downtime to try to like plan out your week. Like I'm going to sit there and I'm going to focus on this price range right here because this is the bread and butter. This is where the bulk of the listings are. As you see, there's over 100 pending in this area. This is how many average days on market. So like these numbers right here, that makes me think that there's somebody that just totally drug that number all the way down. You want to look for outliers because obviously if there's a house, as a general rule of thumb, you don't want to have a house just sitting on the market, right? But it's a tactic that I've seen experienced listing agents do is they will pull it off the market and then relist it to try to keep it nice and fresh. Because the longer it sits on the market, the worse it looks. So,
Hey, Holly,
yeah,
those look like expired average days on market. So the ones that actually expire. So that would explain why, because they actually expired. So the actual sold days on market.
fantastic. That number looks scary. So that's a good point. So this is just basically they didn't give up until 2 years later, which is crazy. Probably should have gave up sooner. So by looking at these numbers, you can literally see where you want to focus your business on, the price point you want to focus your business on, and generate however you want to go about doing business, whether you're farming a neighborhood or you're looking at a particular city that you want to like put out advertisements in, or whatever, or focus your for sale by owner calls. You know what I'm saying? So you just want to know more about that area, and this is one of the ways that you can do it. Like if you're investing in buyer leads, when I invest in buyer leads, I'm actually looking at zip codes. So instead of looking at Chesapeake, we can just plug in a zip code and then generate the report that way. I'll leave it for the year, generate the report that way. So this is a particular zip code that I'm looking at. So I know in that particular zip code that the bulk of the houses that are on the market are at this 200 to 250 price point. And then you look at your sold properties is actually that 300 to 400 price point. So even though there's not as many on the market, well, actually, if you compare it to the pending, or I can't math right now, but they're not that far off from each other. So this is a really good zip code that I would consider investing in. Now, taking into consideration that this is a Virginia Beach and there's like a bajillion agents in Virginia Beach, you would also want to consider that as well. How are you going to make yourself stand out from the other agents in that particular area? So these are just different things that I take into consideration when I'm trying to focus my business and market in a particular area.
And honestly, guys, knowing your numbers is what's going to set you apart from other agents in whatever area. Knowing numbers, and especially like even if you're working with buyers, which most of you are going to start with buyers, if you have somebody coming in from out of town who doesn't know the area, you know, you can send them like, hey, look, this is what our market's doing. I'm not trying to blow smoke when I'm telling you what we're going to see out there. Here's a look at numbers, especially when you get into those C-type personalities from the DISC score.
Mm-hmm.
Love to see these numbers, and you will win them over every single time when you know your numbers.
So just picking your brain because you both are experienced.
Pick away.
In Virginia Beach, if I wanted to target a neighborhood like for sellers, to try to find more sellers, even buyers, and wanted to go like, you know, drop off gifts and with a little brochure, you know, my circle of people, I deal with a lot of homeschool people, and so, or people with families and military, and I know the schools are important to them. So in Virginia Beach, like, you know, I'm very familiar with, you know, around town center through the ocean front, you know, what would you suggest would be the better schools to target, like those areas?
So Virginia Beach in general has great school system. And you can pull up HomeSnap. I don't know if you downloaded that app or not, but you guys get it.
Good. I haven't used it. I have no idea what that one's for.
Yeah. So if you pull up HomeSnap and you plug in a particular address, I'm just going to pull mine up and hope that y'all can see it through the when I show it to you. But it will have the school zones for that particular address, and it will have the rating of those schools. Where you need to be careful with this though is because it does vary so much. In elementary schools, it just depends on the school age, because the elementary school in that particular neighborhood might be one of the highest rated in Virginia Beach. However, the high school, not so much. So because Virginia Beach has such a great school system, you really want to kind of not make that your primary focus, because there's so many of them, like Tallwood, Princess Anne, Salem. These are all phenomenal high schools. But like Lansdowne, which is the area that I live in, they have an elementary, middle, and a high school, and it's right here near Salem and stuff like that, but it's also right here near Green Run. Lansdowne's like a happy median. So Green Run doesn't have like the best reputation, but it's not bad. It's just when people think about Virginia Beach, they're not thinking about, oh yeah, I got to get my kids in the Green Run High School District. They're thinking, I got to get my kids in the Salem High School District. And Lansdowne's kind of like that happy median, because you have moderately priced houses, but you have a half decent school system that has a pretty decent reputation and stuff like that. But Christopher Farms, or whatever it's called for the elementary school, is like belongs to this like one particular neighborhood, but I believe that their high school isn't even all that great. So, the neighborhood might be good for like small age children, but once they get into high school, it may not fit. So it may be a little rougher to do that unless you find one that has all three decent schools in there. And like the middle schools, I don't know of anybody that's actually seeking out middle schools. They're either seeking out elementary schools or they're seeking out high schools. I don't know anybody that seeks out particular middle schools.
Because they're so short, right?
Yeah, it's just 3 years. It's just 3 years. So I don't know if I could actually help you out with that. I would just, use this form of it in that sense, because again, also with the schools, Regina, because they have the ability to change the school zone so much, the last thing you want to do is market it because it's in a particular school zone, and then next school year rolls around and they rezone it. So
I'm not looking to market. I'm looking to which areas do I want to go door knocking and target to try to get listed, Right. And I know the school zones in Virginia Beach are pretty important. So I'm like, which areas should I favor if I'm going to spend the time out there?
Yeah.
Where do I want to?
I'm not sure you could go wrong, honestly. You could look up the, you could like Google search it and stuff like that, but I want to try to show you on HomeSnap real quick.
Also, greatschools.org is another good resource to send to people.
What is it?
Greatschools.org.
Greatschools.org. Okay.
But you don't necessarily want to target by schools, because like Holly was saying, you can always, the schools can be rezoned, and Chesapeake just did that a couple years ago. Yeah. And it caused a huge stir up. So go by price point, go by, if you want to target more military, go closer to the bases, kind of using common sense knowledge like that. Like, okay, if I want to target more military buyers or sellers, let me go closer to the base and go there. If I want to target people who, if I want to target the higher end people, let me go closer to the oceanfront or the Chicks Beach. If I want to target, more buyers who are looking for kind of a first home, let me go in this area, in this price point, and use the sheets that Holly's been going over to determine, where those could be.
Yeah. So here's HomeSnap. I'm trying to get close enough to where y'all can see it. So when you pull up a particular property, like I have this address right here, which is in Virginia Beach, and then you scroll down to the bottom, it has like a rough rating on where the schools. And this is actually a prime example of what I was talking about in Virginia Beach. The middle school and the elementary school are 6 out of 10, which is pretty decent for Desire, but it's Green Run High School, which is a 3 out of 10. And I've explained this to other people before, even in the class yesterday when we were going over CMAs and stuff. There's a particular neighborhood in Virginia Beach where half of the neighborhood is Green Run High School and the other half of the neighborhood is Princess Anne High School. And there was literally a $15,000 to $25,000 price difference on the sales tag because of that.
I know. I heard you talking about that.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite examples.
Well, because I've raised my kids here in Virginia Beach since I moved here in 1999, and this particular neighborhood that I was living in Virginia Beach, half of it, the way it's zoned, half of the kids go to Green Run and the other half go to Ocean Lakes.
Yep.
So the neighborhoods can be really, really funny and really weird the way that they're zoned and how they split it in half. And so you can have a house literally right across the street, and that student is going to school at Green Run, and the other child across the street is going to Ocean Lakes. So it's really funny in Virginia Beach. It's really weird how they do that.
Well, I know it's even more complicated now with the homeschooling because people have so many different opinions of, you know, which schools are actually back, which ones aren't, and how are they handling their Zoom training and other stuff. I mean, it's really it's really a complicated time to walk into real estate and talk to people.
Well, I know it was advice. I think Jordan, you and I spoke about this, where we don't necessarily want to focus on the schools, although we understand it's important for people, but just pretty much giving them the names of the schools and then allowing them to do their own research as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Because when I first moved to Virginia Beach, my kids went to a school that wasn't necessarily considered a great school. Like I had people trying to tell me that I lived in the hood, and I was like, wait, what? Because like I moved to Virginia Beach, and when I first moved to Virginia, I lived in Ocean View, Norfolk, like way before they started like fixing anything out there. And
that was the hood.
that was the hood in this area. Like anybody that's from New York knows that that's not really hood, whatever, but like that was about as hood as it got in the area at that time. But so when I moved to that particular part of Virginia Beach, they're like, "Oh girl, are you okay? That's real hood." Those schools were still better than any school my kids have been to before. Like, so like when it comes to the schools, I always encourage all the parents. I'm like, look, your education for your children is very important, and I totally understand that. The best thing for you to do is to go to the school and meet the staff, because some of those schools that are not necessarily testing well enough to be the highly sought out schools have phenomenal teachers, and they're trying, and your kid might get better care there than at the ones that only care about test scores. Not saying that they do. I'm just saying that these are things that you want to make sure your buyers are genuinely researching. Because I put my kids in Lansdowne, and instead of thriving, they struggle because everybody in Lansdowne has been playing soccer, baseball, football since they were toddlers. And we didn't grow up like that. Like we grew up a little bit more rough and rugged and had to scrap and work for everything that we got. So my kids didn't necessarily fit in. Like they're still good, right? But like people really need to understand what they're looking for when it comes to a school, and the only way that they can do that is doing the research themselves.
And also, just one more thing, I don't want to harping on this, is that I also make sure to make people aware of the school systems in Virginia Beach. There are a lot of academies, so a lot of these high schools have academies. And so although my son was Green Run was his high school, my son was in the academy in Lansdowne, and so was my daughter. So it's not always necessarily like, regarding, this is the school system for your area. Just also letting them know and informing them about the academies, and there are academies everywhere, and they actually get bused. Although it's out of zone, they get picked up and they get bused to that particular school.
That's
interesting. I didn't even know about that. Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Always resources. So the best thing that you guys can do is exactly what we're doing now. And that's talking about it and learning more, like researching it, figuring out like price wise what the sales are looking like, but also knowing more about the area. Like I know there's so much going on in Virginia Beach, and maybe it is a little overwhelming because it is a lot. So maybe you might want to focus on a smaller, I don't want to say a smaller city, but like a different city that doesn't have as much, because Virginia Beach has a lot. Like they have all the academies, they have very heavy sports. Like if your kid's not doing, it's really hard for the nerds out here. I'm just letting you know, because I got a couple of nerds at my house. But other than that, like it's still a great education system. So.
Oh yes, and I can testify. My daughter has a full scholarship to Virginia Tech. She's a senior this year. Full scholarship to Lansdowne.
Congratulations to baby girl. I like it.
Yeah, she graduates.
Amazing.
So she goes to Lansdowne?
No, she graduated from Lansdowne. She received a full scholarship to Virginia Tech, and now she's a senior graduating in May from Virginia Tech.
Oh, nice. I was gonna say if she's in Lansdowne right now, she might know my nephew. My nephew's a senior.
My son is in Lansdowne. He's a junior though.
Okay, my son, both my kids went to Lansdowne, but they don't anymore. But both of my nephews are still in Lansdowne. They play football, and it's Dwight and Derek McMasters. I don't know if they know each other, but they might know each other.
They may.
But so this is what overall, guys, this is what I do to try to prepare myself when I'm getting ready to start focusing, for one, where I'm going to put my marketing, but also to prepare myself when I'm making my calls, because y'all's biggest hang up when it comes to making calls is like, what if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to? And this is another thing where role playing comes into play, because if you guys practice the scripts that Bill Crespo provided, that I gave y'all, if y'all came to the very first Power Hour, like you get these scripts and you understand where the conversation's supposed to be going, and then you have this little bit of knowledge, it's going to help you go a very far way in the conversation. And if they do ask you a question, there's always something that you can do, even if you don't know the answer. Jordan, what's a good question that a seller might ask that they may not necessarily know the answer?
Something for a lot of new agents, because sellers can always sense when you're not confident, is how long have you been doing this for? So
y'all want to know my response to it? Feels like forever.
I like that.
Feels like forever. And then every time you say that, they just kind of laugh, and then you kind of move on or whatever, and you don't have to. You don't have to
a quick
answer.
change of answer and follow up after that.
They don't. They usually don't. They usually don't. I've never had anybody feel like they had to ever respond. Like I'll be like, oh God, it feels like forever.
So I have to say, feels like forever. Ha ha ha. So we were talking about get them off the tongue.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, they'll say it and I'll be like, oh, it feels like forever. But then again, my days do blur together, but I guess that's just the time we're in. Don't you agree? Now they're talking about themselves.
Basically, anytime they ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, try to turn it around where they can talk about themselves, because at the end of the day, everybody likes talking about themselves.
They want to talk about themselves. They just don't want you to know that they want to talk about themselves.
Exactly.
So what's another question that you guys, let's just go ahead and dive into some rebuttals. What's another question that you guys are afraid somebody's going to ask you that you're not going to know the answer to?
Well, I have right now my ex-husband. He's so hesitant to sell his house. Well, excuse me, to rent his house and buy another. His main concern is, how do I have a VA loan and I won't qualify for another loan as long as my house isn't rented and I don't have a renter.
So he does need to line up if his current home is a VA loan, he does need to line up a renter ahead of time. But at the same time, he could already be putting that into play. Like, rental properties are just as competitive as for sale properties right now. Like they are literally getting applications the same day that they go live. Like it will not be hard to rent out his house unless it's in really, really bad shape.
It's in wonderful shape. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about VA though that you need to double check with a local lender or whoever's going to be processing the loan for him is getting his VA approved if he's moving within the same proximity as the other property, simply because you have to show why you need it. So most of the time people are moving because or get a different house because they have to move. So they're moving out of the area, so therefore they have to rent out the other one. But the other way to show the VA is their lifestyle has changed. Either the family's growing or it's drastically reduced, whatever the case may be. But he'll have to be able to prove that to be able to still use his VA eligibility for that. But all those questions can be answered by a great lender, and I have a perfect one for you if you don't have one lined up already.
Girl, I got her 3 lenders if she needs them.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he's really hesitant.
Loads of lenders.
But Holly's lender is absolutely fantastic. I love David.
David does a phenomenal job, and he knows all the ins and outs of VA loans. So you want to definitely have somebody that's experienced, but you want to make sure that he's by having a conversation you yourself with a lender before you speak to your ex-husband about it will also assure him that you're the local expert and he can trust you to get the job done too.
Okay.
I think everybody's biggest challenge as new agents is getting your friends and families to trust you.
Right.
And
like you're not selling.
Yeah. But the biggest thing that you could do is know that you know more than them and just assert yourself in that position of authority. And it is fake it till you make it when you first get started. But I can honestly tell you, I've been licensed, it'll be 4 years in July. And every single one of my family members and friends trust me to handle their real estate business. Even my ex-boyfriend, who was with me when I first got licensed, trusted me to help him and his new girlfriend buy a house. So you put yourself in that position and you're like, yo, I mean, I don't know. I think we got another male on here, so you're going to have to bear with me, Jared. But all you got to do is assert yourself as that boss-ass bitch that you know that you are. And then they just follow suit. They're not going to argue with you. But Jared, you're gonna be that boss-ass bro. I don't know. Can we do that?
Like that.
Holly, could you, once we're done with this meeting, could you text me David's information, his contact number?
I'm going to send it to you right now. I'm going to send it to you right now.
Thank you.
So I have at least 2 or 3 people, investors interested in properties, and I'm really not sure. I know they want to look for stuff between 100 and 200,000 that has good equity. How do I, like, what do I look for? Can I create a search for that I can look at daily to keep an eye out?
Well, you're not going to be able to create it in the sense of
just have to know the market.
Well, no, because when it comes to investors, okay, working with investors is like the most taxing on an agent if you're like that invested with it, right? Because they want to know how much money they're going to make off the property, and in order for you to be able to do that fairly with them, you'll have to be able to know what the current condition of the property is, know what its potential is, and know how much money they're probably going to have to put into it, because they want a significant return. So you need to have a substantial conversation to understand how much money they're looking percentage wise to make off of their investment. So if they're buying $100,000 house and they're going to put 40 grand into it, and they want to make sure the house sells for 200 so that they make that 60 grand or whatever their numbers are, those are just thrown out there. You'll have to be able to like break that down for them. So when I work with investors, because that is a lot of work for an agent to do, I just set them up on a vague drip on their price point, and then I just let it come to them, and then it's up to them to say, hey, run the numbers on this, or hey, run the numbers on that when they see something of interest. Because otherwise you're going to be working really hard and the money's not going to be there, because I don't know if y'all know how much 3% commission is on $100,000 house, but it's only $3,000. And then once, you know, it goes to the broker split and stuff like that, you'll be like, yo, I worked really hard for this, and it's not going to math out for you. So if you have legit investors that you're working with, then you need to have a legit conversation with them and understand fully what they're looking for, how much money they're looking to invest, and how much money they're trying to return on it. Because some of these houses need a lot of love, but maybe your investor's only good with cosmetic stuff. They don't want something that's going to be structural or anything like that. They want something that they can go in there, fix it up to look nice, and not deal with any major headaches. But you never know what you're really dealing with until you get in there. But does that make sense?
Yeah, I have both. I have one who's actually a contractor, and then I have one who invests usually in like pizza places, but he wants more cosmetic. And it's like, and that's what I thought, like, can I send them a drip? But I know they're not going to fully pay attention to them. So how do I make myself like more aware to keep a lookout for stuff like that?
Honestly, if you check out the market every day, like Jordan and I were showing you with the new listings, if you look at that list of new listings each morning, you have a better chance of coming across something that way than anything else. But again, you have to understand substantially what it is that they're looking for, because like I have an investor that I work with too, but I wait until I come across a property that might interest him versus working myself to death trying to find them something. Like if I stumble across, I'd be like, hey, I stumbled across this property. This might be something of interest to you, and leave it at that.
That's a great point. So I have to make this really more of my ritual of getting in there and knowing what's popping up new.
Yeah, it's just going to make you that much better.
How about searching lots? I have a client, well, a prospective client who is interested in buying a lot and building. So how do I go about that?
Oof. Jordan. I haven't done a land deal yet. You can, when you're looking at Rein, there is a way to look at just lots, right? So if you go under search, land and farms right there, you can plug it in. There is a lot more to buying land and building than there is a traditional real estate sale. So I have not fully completed one yet. Jordan has done new construction before, and she knows how to deal with builders and stuff like that. So she'd probably be the better person to answer this. But one thing I can say with most of these situations is you have to buy the land separately and then get the loan for the house. Like you can't bundle it all together. I know with VA, you cannot bundle it all together unless it's a new development and they already have the everything set out and they're buying it together. It's being sold as a unit, so they're buying it together as a unit. But if it's an individual who wants to pick the land and then have a house built on it and they want their own plans and all that jazz, like that's where it gets a little bit more hairier.
Okay, and are they, so you said with the VA loan, can they get a construction loan with the VA loan?
After that, it's going to depend on the lender. I don't think they're available right now. The perm to construction loans. Last I heard, they were not doing those with the VA, and VA often won't loan on land. So that would have to be a conventional financing. And you also have to make sure that the land is perkable and or has the availability to either hook up to city water and septic if it's not already, and if it doesn't, then it's got to have a proper drainage field for a septic system.
They have to basically buy the land first before VA will allow them to do the new construction loan to build on the land. And to buy the land, you, like Jordan was saying, there's a lot of inspections that happen because you got to make sure that the soil can hold the house. You got to make sure that there's well and septic if it's not on city. And you have to make sure it's zoned for residential. Like there's so much that goes into it, and buying land usually takes 3 to 6 months to close on because of all of those inspections and stuff like that. And it's It's a different machine. It's a different machine.
Feasibility studies too, and talking to the city and making sure that the house that you want to build, because you have to have a copy of the blueprint of the house that you want to build, make sure that the city would approve that. Those are just some examples of other things that you're going to run into if this is what
Tough stuff.
Tough stuff.
Sounds like a headache.
It could be a worthwhile headache. Carla is actually quite familiar, and our admin, she's done it a couple of times for herself and more recently her son. So Carla actually knows quite a bit about it too. It's a lot, and I'm never going to discourage you guys from learning something new, because that could be, your little niche that you get into. But there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I just want to buy my land and build my house, and I'm going to have myself a farm and some chickens and some goats, and they don't really understand what goes into it. So it's a lot. 1 second, guys.
But like Holly was saying, it's not to discourage you. It's simply to inform you, so that way you can inform your clients, and they can then make an educated decision if that is the right process for them and what they want to go through.
I can only imagine that there are a lot of, out-of-pocket fees for them buying a land and getting all those, city inspections and permits. And
there is, and we actually have another agent in our office who actually, like, for a long time, her primary job was land acquisition. So when that time comes, if that time comes, we've got somebody that we can connect you with, and she's great at helping with those sort of things.
Is it Chrissy or something like that?
Yeah.
Because I had somebody that was interested in some land, and I actually reached out to her, and not only did she give me the full rundown, but she gave me numbers of people and stuff like that handle and do inspections and stuff, because it's at that point you're really going to want to branch out and make connections with different people that have been in that part of the industry longer, not necessarily agents, but like the inspectors and stuff like that. Because if you're going to be the new one, make sure that nobody that you're utilizing is new. So,
okay.
Only room for one new person.
Yep.
Anybody have any more questions? I've been gabbing to you guys for about an hour and a half now, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Kind of went off the.
Can I get Chrissy's number, if you don't mind?
I can send it to you, Lily.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I
Jordan.
really appreciate you letting us pick our brains, because, we attend these things and there's so much going through it, and we're trying to sort out and figure out just how the basics, but you have like these obstacles that go through our head that is stopping us from moving forward.
Yep.
So it would be great. Lily, I would love to get together at least once a week to role play and pull reports and just maybe team up to work together to build our businesses.
Sure.
If you guys are going to role play, like as far as calls go, I strongly suggest doing that at least 2 to 3 times a week, if not daily. Because if you're going to be making calls every day, you want to be prepared every single day for it. And it's uplifting, guys. I can promise you. I've role played with Nikita before. And I don't know if y'all have ever had the pleasure of listening to her make calls, but that is queen of not getting off the phone. So
she is amazing. But I was talking about role plating to go show homes.
Yes, definitely. I encourage.
I think that's a great idea.
It's a phenomenal.
And don't forget that Nikki and Munesh have offered for you all to shadow them as well.
Yep. So they're
okay. That's good to know. I have their numbers.
Yes, definitely reach out to them. So this class was off scheduled a little bit, guys, but like I said before, the class that I did back in January is recorded and it is on YouTube. So for those of you that haven't been to that course yet, I would strongly encourage that you guys check it out. I will be holding the second part of it actually the next week as well. So if you caught like the first half of it, you want to catch the second half of it next week, I will be hosting that as well. I hope everything about this class today, even though me and Jordan kind of winged it for you, was very beneficial to y'all. I hope that we gave y'all some insight on how you can make yourself the local expert and hopefully create a great game plan for you so you can really start reaching your goals and increasing your productivity which ultimately is my goal on the ALC as a productivity coach. So all about that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
really
This was really
appreciate it.
helpful.
Awesome. All right, you guys enjoy your day. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or anything that you'd like to see next time, just send me a text or email. I'm here for
And
you.
this was recorded, right?
I think it's automatically recorded, but I'm not even sure because
Yeah, you can see it says recording in the top.
Yep. Okay.
Anytime y'all want to just look at the top, it'll say recording. You can see if it's recorded or not. Did
So
you
we can
guys
watch this again later to go through that stuff too. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
well, I always post them on Facebook after they're done downloading, so you guys should be able to see them there. And plus, they're always on our YouTube page. Make sure that you join it, and whenever they get uploaded, you'll get a notification, and that way you can kind of always see them. You don't have to wait. Did
You're
you go
all
through
awesome.
chat questions, Holly?
What?
Did you look through the chat questions? There was like 5 on there.
I saw that Jared was okay with being called boss ass bro. And then
And there was something
so
from
Leticia brought up, I think she was referring to the VA where they had to be 75 miles away, and that was the part that I wasn't too sure about. But other than that, I think we got it all.
Okay, cool.
We got it all. So
all right, I want to make sure for the recording. All right, thanks guys.
You're welcome. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.